What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Eric Merrill Jr., aka Daan Rana. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama.
What was life like growing up in Birmingham, Alabama?
It was way better than, looking back, it was way better than I'm blessed. I got to have a really good childhood growing up in Birmingham. Stayed in Indian Ridge, sort of around North Birmingham, East Thomas. It was pretty cool, man. 4th place North. I got my 2 siblings, my older sister, my younger brother, and I had both my parents. I know off rip, that's a blessing in itself. But my parents did everything they could to make sure that my childhood was more enjoyable than theirs. It was really, really dope. My parents always encouraged everything that I did. No matter if I wanted to act, no matter if I wanted to write poems, and then later on when I wanted to make music, they've always been in my corner. So they always put me into different stuff, put me into camps and stuff like that, so I could, explore and get that kind of stuff. Same thing for my siblings. My brother's an athlete. My sister, she was a dancer, singer, actor. she's dope. But yeah, it was really dope growing up in Birmingham, I would say.
Do you come from an artistic family?
Absolutely. Most of us are artists. My dad is a painter. He has a great hand. He can draw. He used to draw superheroes back in the day. Took us to get comics one time, and we came back with Nerf guns. But it was still a good day. He got comics for himself, so it was dope. But he loves superheroes. But he also is great at oil paintings. His work used to be almost visceral. He used to come off the canvas. My mom, she's a polymath. She can do anything. She's a singer. She's a musician.
Oh wow.
She's super crafty. She can make anything that you need. She's super creative, and she's been my director. She was my first director for all the plays, all the Easter church poems. Even when we were in the choir, my mom was my first director across the area. My big sister, she can paint a little bit too, but she's heavy into music. She's an amazing singer. And then my brother, he's low-key the musical genius of the family. He's a DJ, but he sings too. He retired from singing, but he sings too. And he paints a little bit himself, and he's an English teacher down in New Orleans. And he uses a lot of his creativity down there. Yeah, man, he's a really, really
Wait, what's your brother's name?
Jonathan Marable. They call him Gotti. He just moved down there.
Oh, okay. Dang, maybe I've met him or something.
Yeah, man.
Okay, and so at what point did you start taking music seriously?
Around 2015, I'd always I remember one time in my freshman year of high school, which was the worst year of my life, besides 2020. But one of the bright spots of that year was, I wrote my first verse in the 7th grade. I still remember it. But I spit it for my family, and they laughed at me so bad I didn't write another verse until my freshman year of high school. And I remember I wrote the verse. I was spitting it. It came out as more slam poetry, but those were my first little attempts at trying to do music. But then I went to New York 2015, and I was working for another nonprofit, and we had a group of artists who would come together and just workshop work and stuff like that. And one day I was like, man, I always wanted to try to write a verse. Let me write this verse. Man's reconciliation with God. I wrote it over the loneliest Martin beat, Ode to Mad Lib. And I remember after I wrote that verse, I was like, this is crazy. this is wild. So from there, I just started practicing, workshopping. When I moved to Brooklyn, I got hooked up with my first producer who really sat down and believed in what I was doing. Shout out to 88 Ty, my nigga Ty up in East Brooklyn. And from there, I started. I didn't get to put out my first project when I was in New York. I was struggling.
Wait, so what prompted your move to New York though? That's what I wanted to.
Yeah, dude. My freshman year, senior year of college, I was doing research on just the education system and all the messed up stuff that was going down. Can I cuss, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. And all the fucked up stuff that was going on in the education system. And I was looking for opportunities. I was going to move to New York anyway to try to do the acting thing. But I was looking for opportunities to help kids while I was up there. Then I got an email in my student email one day from this nonprofit organization called City Year. And it was City Year New York. And I met with the recruiter. and like we had a great conversation. We were both like crying, like we were like, man, we want to help these kids. Like he completely recruited me. I was all the way in. So got that job, and then moved to New York. Stayed in Lower Manhattan for a little bit with my boy Mo. Couldn't find an apartment, so I moved to Connecticut with my aunt and my uncle. And I was taking the train in. I just had to wake up at like 3:30 in the morning and get back and forth, bro. And that was like a 4-hour commute, low key. I had to take hella trains, but I would be the first one at work. I was ready. But yeah, dude, that was my New York. That's why I went to New York to act and to help kids. But I just ended up finding my way into music, going to open mics, getting connected with the artist community out there, shooting music videos with my boys. Shout out Danny Ryan. Shout out David Jaco, my boy Jaco. They really helped me like find a community and find a place. Shout out New Yorican. But yeah, dude, that was New York.
And so, do you think that New York is like a valuable place for artists now, like today's economy and climate? You know how people used to go to New York to make it?
Yeah, bro. It's still viable. You just gotta find your network. You gotta find your people, bro. And you're gonna have to like eventually like find a way into those upper spots. But it starts with the community, bro. Somebody you know somebody else, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's everybody know everybody. New York is smaller than you think. Like, you bump into niggas on the street and you be like, nigga, I ain't see you forever, bro. But I think it's still definitely viable. I do believe the Southeast is where it's the best right now, where you really gonna have your best opportunity. Either the Southeast or LA, the West Coast, I think are gonna be your best shots musically anyway. But I think New York still has a lot of viability, especially on the film, theater, and music and stuff too. There's a lot of experimental stuff going on in New York too. So it's a great place to like cut your teeth, workshop material, and really see what you made of. It's gonna test you. It's gonna test you.
Wait, so how are artists like surviving in New York? Does everybody have a job? Are people hustling? Like, what's going on?
Niggas hustling, dog. Like,
like 2-3 jobs, doing this and doing that.
My nigga Jaco was at the CVS hustling, man, doing what you gotta do. I was working at doggy daycare, my nigga.
Oh,
my
shit.
boy Ty, he actually works in a school. He's the director of physical education now. And like, yeah, everybody has a few jobs, man, because the cost of living up there is crazy. So you gotta keep moving. If art ain't paying the bills fully yet, you're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to figure something out, man.
But I have all these questions about New York. But so I feel like New York, since it has such a large population, that it has more opportunity to make money in art. Is that true or is that kind of false? Like, as opposed to like Atlanta or New Orleans?
I honestly don't know. I think now music is so accessible. Like, all you gotta do is find the people who fuck with you. Like, you can make a living. If you can find 200 people who are like fans, you can make a living off music, like shows, merchandise, traveling, going on tour. Like, you can find a way to do it. Like, music is wide open right now. It's a blessing and a curse, I think. But like, if you got the grind and you learn the skills, and the internet is the tool. Like, is the tool. Like, you can make something shake, I believe.
What was your most challenging experience in New York City?
Falling in love and having an end. Like, I know I was struggling financially and stuff, but then like the depression hit, and that shit broke me. I was already like super depressed like my whole time, but I had been depressed for years, but everybody kept telling me, yo, you alright, nigga, like suck it up, like handle your business, you gonna be alright. Like, it's hard to handle your business when you just crying randomly. You like crumpled up in a ball on the floor. Right. And you got nobody to talk to and nobody to really help you. Even when I did have people to come around me, I didn't know how to like handle my feelings, so I was also pushing niggas away. Like I didn't want to do that. I pushed her away too, and ended up, and I wasn't trying to grow. I was so fucked up in my own head. I couldn't like grow and move on, and that was like the whole issue. Like, she was trying to move on with her life, and I was stuck. So like, dealing with my first real heartbreak was.
Wait, so how long were y'all together?
About a year and a half.
Oh,
a year and a half, man. Yeah, it was the first real relationship I ever had too. I didn't know how to deal, but like, yeah, that first heartbreak was tough. But like, And then like everything started fucking up with my roommates, but that was on me too. Years later, I can admit that I fucked up royally as a roommate. I wasn't handling my responsibilities. I was depressed, I was, but it's no excuse for not paying your bills on time, not taking out the trash, not doing what you gotta do. But yeah, bro, my living situation got crazy, and then I was just like, man, I need to go home, man. I'm just struggling up here. I'm working these shitty jobs. Like I've had some really, really dope experiences, but it's too much for me. Like I had to come back home, and I appreciate that experience so much. Them 2.5 years like taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about the world. Like, cause people are from everywhere up in New York. Like taught me a lot about the world, man, and just how there's so many different perspectives than the southern ones. Yeah, bro. But like, yeah, it opened me up a lot, and it made me more confident when I got back down south.
And so you moved from New York, and where'd you go after that?
I tried to live in Birmingham.
Okay. So
I went back with my folks, and that was not the move. I was still really fucked up, and I was still like just being an asshole. Like they weren't helping me. Like they weren't really a big help either, because there was a lot of pressure. You know what I'm saying? Go get a job. You know what I'm saying? Get out the house. I just got back. I'm depressed. I lost my girlfriend. I ain't got no money. Like,
bro, that'd be the worst, bro.
Give me a second, bro. Give me a second to breathe. But they weren't. So like, I moved to Tuscaloosa with my boys, and I spent less than a year in Tuscaloosa, maybe like 8 or 9 months in Tuscaloosa. And then same thing, I was like, damn, I'm just struggling up here. Like, ain't no art in Tuscaloosa. If you're not going to school, or you're not working at the plants, or doing something around there, like there's nothing in Tuscaloosa, man. It was a place where dreams go to die. It will suck you in.
Yo.
And then one day I was like, I gotta get out. And my boy Jamon was moving to Birmingham too. So I was like, man, I got all my connections in Birmingham, my family in Birmingham. I'm just in Tuscaloosa struggling, bro, miserable. Like, let me go see what's happening. So the second attempt in Birmingham was a lot better, because like I kind of had a plan, a little bit of a plan, not really a full out plan. But I started teaching when I got back, and that opened up a lot of doors for me right there. Started teaching poetry with the Negro Southern League Museum. Shout out Alicia Johnson. She's over the Boutwell Auditorium in the Negro Southern League Museum, which is a really cool spot. And that was my first time solo working with kids like that. And that her as a connection like helped start everything with the Flourish as well, my nonprofit with my brother Jamon. And also from me moving back to Birmingham, I remember I did a 10th anniversary show for my OGs, the Real Life Poets Incorporated. Those were the cats that got me started doing poetry in high school. Them niggas changed my life. And like they asked me to perform for their 10th anniversary at the Museum of Art. And so I did the show, completely rocked it, just killed it, absolutely killed it. And then after the show, I met this cat named Lloyd Bricken. I gotta call him. But he gave me the opportunity to curate an event in Avondale at this space called the Freedom House. The Freedom House was like perfect. It was about half the size of where we're at right now, the greenhouse. But the Freedom House was beautiful. It had books on the wall, art on the wall, lights everywhere. It had its own PA system. It was perfect event venue. And so he gave me that space, and he was like, yo, do whatever you want to do, man. And I was like, bet. And was fiddling around with names for a minute. It was a Lab for a second. I was like, it's a place downtown called the Lab. It's kind of whack. But then I was thinking, my boy Jamon, I had been the lead director for his one-man show that he created for his dissertation, his second master's. And the philosophy that he created during that show was called the Flourish. And the whole idea behind the Flourish is that we as black people are infinitely possible beings. Like, we're not just defined by our suffering and the pain that we've endured and conquered, but we're also joy and peace and healing. And we deserve spaces to express that in its full entirety. So I was like, the Flourish. the Flourish at Freedom House. I was like, that's perfect. It's fucking perfect. So I went to Jamon. I was like, can I use that shit? He was like, yeah, bro.
Can I use that shit?
Yeah. He was like, yeah, bro, for sure. It was perfect. He also opened our very first show, April 27th, 2019 was our first show. Mm-hmm. It's also the day that we really started the Flourish, because that was really our first event as a team. It really was. But I was over everything back then. I was the producer, I was the director, I was performing too. I was MC. Like, I was doing the whole shit, and that Google Drive was crazy. It was so disorganized, but I made it happen. And with the help of a lot of homies, bro. Shout out to Good Taste Media, my boy Wayne, my boy Blevs. Like, mad respect to y'all. And from there, Jamama, we did that for. We were in that space for about a year until COVID hit, and then my OGs, I will give them shit for this whenever, because they hit us up like a month before the lease was up on the Freedom House, and they were like, yo, you guys want to take it over? And we were like, yo, like, with what money, dog? Like, if y'all would have told us this like a year ago, like, we could have done something. But we lost that space. But that was when Jamon really was like, yo, let's really hone in on this nonprofit thing and get into the schools and start doing workshops for the kids. So 2020, we lose the space. But we do start doing our own workshops and stuff. We go into Ramsey High School for our first 2 classes, and then literally 2-3 days later, everything shut down. But luckily for us, we were one of the few organizations in the city who were like really good at using Zoom to do like everything. So like, we were doing lessons on Zoom. We were doing all our classes on Zoom. Those kids really needed something. Like, they were getting bombarded with all the academic stuff. The teachers were super stressed out. The kids like terrified, don't know like what's coming next, like what to feel like. They're lonely. Some of them are stuck in situations at home that are just ass. So like, we were able to be a space for them where they could just come and like, even if we don't write shit that day, just come and talk about what's going on, like with your life and stuff like that. We did poetry, and we also did our filmmaking unit all over Zoom. Like, the kids were able to use their cell phones at home to create their own short films, their own snippets, and that was a crazy experience. It was terrible. It was amazing. It was so hard, but we made it through. And we did our very first. We brought back the citywide poetry slam called Word Up. I had done Word Up when I was in high school, my junior year of high school, and a few years later it like disbanded or whatever. But this homie, his name Matthew Lane, shout out to Ashley M. Jones, poet laureate for Alabama. She hooked us up there and was like, yo, these guys would be perfect to bring it back. So we've been working on that. We've done 3 so far. That first one completely over Zoom. It was crazy, but we made it happen. The second one was our first in-person one. It was so much fun. And then the third one we just had this past year went amazingly well. Shout out to Huffman High School, two years in a row, champs, East Side, you know what it is. And but yeah, it's been a crazy ride so far. It's been 2019 is when we started. 4 years, 5 years in total that we've been rocking with this, man, and it's been great.
So y'all are deep. So you mentioned that earlier. Your parents were like, you got to do something when you came back. So now you're doing all these amazing things, right? How do your parents feel about what's going on with the Flourish and all of your success?
They are super duper proud of me, man. They keep telling me. My mom, one of her personal dreams was to do what I'm doing now, to have like a center for kids to come and like learn art and stuff like that. My mom, she told me that. She was like, yo, I want to do this. And now you living out my dream. And I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. It all really came full circle, man. It took them a while to really like I would say it probably be now, but like maybe like 2020, 2021, I was like a terror to live with. I got super depressed again, especially 2020 but it really all came to a head in 2021. Like I was tough to be around. I was a hard person to be around, but it was tough for anybody to be happy for me, for real. And like I remember my birthday was just I didn't really feel like I deserved like anything, and like nobody was really trying to celebrate me like that no way anyway. But yeah, bro, it took them a while to like Because at first I just wasn't happy. Like I got super overwhelmed with everything. Like I was doing everything in the nonprofit. I was trying to make music, and I was just super duper depressed, dealing with people I shouldn't be dealing with, bruh. And like just in the dumps, man. But like now that they've seen like the full vision really starting to come to fruition, like now, like they're like, and they see me like healthier and like happier and like really taking ownership of what's going on. Like they're super proud. They're super duper proud.
Wow. Okay, and so for someone who aspires to do what you do, what advice would you have for them? Someone who wants to be a musician, someone who wants to be a poet, someone who wants to be a founder of a nonprofit. Like, what would you tell them? Like, what would you tell that young person?
On the personal art tip, I would say get started, man. Make anything, make everything. Suck, really just be really bad for like a little bit of time, because then you'll figure out what works and what doesn't, and then you start to get good. You'll really start finding your own voice. It takes a while to sound like yourself, but unless you try, you'll never figure it out. After you like start doing work by yourself, like then find your people, man. Find your people who will let you spit, who will listen to your shitty rhymes and tell you what to do better. Find the people who support you, who really support you, man. The community is like pivotal. If you want to start a nonprofit, same thing. You need a team. You need a strong team that's committed to the work, that believes in the mission, and people who are consistent, who will show up. You know what I'm saying? And being consistent, it doesn't mean people are always able to show up 100%. But surround yourself with people who are, even when on their shitty days, they are able to like come through or do what they can. Like that's how we got started. And don't be afraid to ask for shit. Like people want to help. Like they waiting for you to ask the question. Like don't feel awkward. Like don't feel that like you don't deserve it or like oh, this person is so that they won't deign to like answer me. But like no, ask. You'll be surprised what kind of doors will open if you just open your mouth, man. That's what happened for us with Miss Alicia. Like she used her connections throughout the city to like set us up with our first school over at Ramsey. Shout out Jackie Lockhart. That was our first, and that's the domino. Hey, the domino. That's the first domino that tipped. And so that led us all the way here, man. And you stay consistent. Like make sure you're somebody that people can follow. Make sure you're somebody who stays on top of your shit as much as you can. Like I said, this work is hard. Nonprofit is hard, bro. Trying to get this bread to do your programs is not easy. But like once you get into the groove, like anything, like it's just a game. You gotta learn the rules. You gotta learn what buttons to push. And then once you start getting in there, once you build those relationships, stay consistent, and have those healthy relationships, that'll be half the battle. And then making sure your work is quality. That's paramount. Making sure that they're seeing where their money's going to, and that they know that their money is going to something real, something that's substantial. Like that is pivotal. And then there's don't be afraid of growth. Like each year, do it bigger, do it better. Don't be afraid to stretch yourself, man. Take risks. That's the only way you figure out the true path, really. Take them risks. It'll teach you a lot about yourself. Like I said, make no mistakes and learn from them. Don't do them again. And just continue to grow, man. We've been doing this 5 years. We still don't really know what's going on. we're just doing shit, and like it's working. But have a plan, have a team, and then be consistent. That's what I would say.